Welcome back, everyone. This is Module 2, Part 2, looking at the 3D world. So this will be Lesson 7, and let's get started. The overview for this week will be looking at the 2.7, I have an idea. What is design thinking? The learning objective for today will be to understand design thinking and to explore different design thinking process. When you think of the word design thinking, what comes into your mind? Now, design thinking is a way of thinking and working to try and solve a problem. When you look at problems, you need to make sure to understand, what do I need to help solve this problem? Once you've made your collection of ideas, you need to make sure that you create a prototype or even the exact model to the solution that you've been working on. You can apply design thinking processes to solve problems, whether it's personal, in your community, the country, or the world. Now, the biggest brands such as Apple, Google, Samsung, all of these brands are using the design thinking process. The design thinking process includes a cycle such as research, ideate, choose, learn, implement, prototype, analyze, and define. Now, the cycle that we're going to focus on are 5 steps. First one being empathize. The second one being define. The third one being ideate. The fourth one being prototype. And the fifth, test your prototype. Let's have a look at the first step in the design thinking process. Empathize. What is the problem? If I give you an example, a problem could be that your phone keeps on falling off the desk. In this phase, you have to try to understand the problem. To do this, you have to gather information, do research, talk to others, look for ideas and opinions in order to help you solve this issue. There is also a word in the slide, folio. A folio is like a pamphlet where you can keep a record of notes during your design thinking process. Step number 2, define. What can you do to fix the problem? You have to find a solution to the phone falling off the desk. In this step, you are gathering information. You will look closely at this information, the difficulties, the barriers, and other issues. Once you've understood this, you can now start creating ideas for your solution. What materials you might need. Does it impact the environment? Is the product good enough to be sold to the wider community? Step number 3, ideate. This is when you put your ideas into action. You come up with the ideas to try solve the problem. You start drawing your ideas on paper for an object to protect your phone. In this step of design thinking process, you're ready to start generating ideas. Continuing on with ideate. Things to keep in mind when you are ideating. You need to make sure you're thinking outside the box to create new solutions to the problem. It's important to get as many ideas as possible. Keep a log of your sketches, explanations, so that you can later look back at it. You will then be able to decide on size, measurements, colors. You'll be able to plan well in advance. An important action is to decide on the criteria, something called design criteria, which lists the exact features the design must have. So the word design criteria is just a list of features that your design must have. You also need to make sure to remember Design thinking process lets you change your ideas at any time. You can go back to the cycle and do changes that you need. The fourth step is the prototype. You are now ready to model your idea. If you are happy with your design, you're ready to build it, and you're even ready to send it to printer for printing. In this step, you'll be able to produce a model version of your solution. This is when you can experiment if things are working or not. Continuing on with prototype, we can craft our prototype by using 3D printing. We make the prototype to help you find solutions to a problem that you are going to face. The prototype can be modified at any time during the prototype session. If you're not happy with the design printing, you can modify it and print it again and test it out. This is where we come into the testing stage. You can now see if your design works. Does it keep the phone from falling off the desk? This is the final step of the 5-step model that we've gone through. First one being empathize. Second one being define. Third one being ideate. Fourth one being prototype. And the fifth, test. During your test, you need to make sure to see if the problem has been solved using the design criteria. Does it work? Is it the correct size? Is it the correct shape? Does it have the features you planned? Does it need any changes? Now again, the word design criteria is just a list of features you want your design to have. As an example here, for us to make a maze, we need to have design criteria. This could be a maze must have an entrance and an exit. A maze must be approximate 80 millimeters wide and 80 millimeters long. The outer and inner walls must be raised to 4 millimeters. Channel must be 4 millimeters wide to allow 3 millimeters ball to run through. And the fifth one being, maze needs to have barriers, blocked ends, twists and turns. Continuing on with design criteria, when you are designing something, there are a lot of questions you have to think about. What will it cost? Is it going to be cheap? Will it be expensive? Will it be safe to use? Is it eco-friendly? Is it going to harm the environment, or is it going to do something good for the environment? Does it look good? Is the design feasible? Is the design attractive? Is it easy to use? You need to always make sure that your final product is practical for everyone. Can it be recycled? Does it work well? These are all the questions you have to think about when you are looking at the design criteria. The following picture shows you a design criteria that has been laid out. Here's a table lamp. The light is concentrated by the shape of the shade. A 60-watt bulb is bright enough for the individual use. This is where you think of, is it bright enough? What happens if we use 40-watt bulb? What happens if we use 80-watt bulb? The switch is ergonomically designed so that it's easy to use. As you can see, the switch is on the stand of the lamp instead of it being on the cable, so it's practical. The material, here's when we look at the cost of things. Materials will cost $10 for the entire project. The base will be made of aluminium. This lamp is aimed at the student market, is cheap and can be used for studying. It's very simple. The base will be large and quite heavy so that the lamp stands up and will not fall over easily even if knocked. A short stem means that it is less likely to topple over. So the shorter the stem is, the better it is for the standing. The stem is flexible and allows the person to use it to direct the light. The shade is made from plastic so that it doesn't become too hot. Continuing on with design criteria, it's very important that you follow your steps so that you have a clear idea of what directions you're going in. Sometimes during the design process, you are going to be changing your mind because the design thinking process is about you, your design, and the people who will use it. Design thinking is helpful. Design thinking helps you solve problems, accept mistakes, and take risks. It helps to make your thinking skills better. You can become an inventor and be the leader of the future. When you use the design thinking process in your work, you will definitely get better at working problems. You will see mistakes as lessons. You'll be able to understand more about working hard to get results. You'll become a problem solver. You'll get better at thinking of new ideas. You'll become an inventor. You will develop entrepreneurial and community-minded behaviors. You will develop a focus that looks at the future and solutions. As soon as the designer is happy with their sketch, they will be able to decide on the size and measurements. The designer decides what product will look like. The designer will look towards building a model or 3D printing of the product. Have a look at this next video, which will show you a very simple one-point perspective streetscape.
Okay, this is the final video that we're going to do before I return. So this one is going to be putting everything that we've learned so far together and making an actual picture out of it. I had to switch rulers because that one was bent. And this one's really sparkly, so deal with it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by building a city and starting with the basics. So the first thing that we're going to do for our city is we're going to draw the street. So you're going to go to your vanishing point, and you're going to just draw two lines in a kind of pattern, just about that wide. So there's your street. If you wanted to look at it a certain way, you could see it as just a road with nothing on either side. The street goes on forever and ever. We're not going to worry about those center lines for the street because that's detail that we don't really need. What I am going to do though is I'm going to put a sidewalk on either side of it, and that's so that we have space so our buildings don't go right up to the street, because that'd be weird and we wouldn't have any room for trash cans or benches or anything. So there's my sidewalk lines. If I really cared, I would probably fix that right there, but it's just practice, so I'm just going to leave it. So what I'm going to do now is on this side of the street, I'm going to show you how to do one building, and then on this side of the street, I'm going to show you how to do a bunch at once. It's a lot easier that way. So to draw one building at a time, you basically come up to your sidewalk, and you do what I showed you last time, which is just drawing your regular rectangles. But you're going to make sure that they go up to the sidewalk. So we're going to go vertical, vertical. Make sure that you go horizontal off of your sidewalk. This is the step that most people miss. You need to come horizontal off your sidewalk, and then you're also going to go horizontal on the top. So this is nothing new. I've shown you all this before. Here's that. Regular side of the building. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect the top and the bottom to make the front of it. Now the bottom of it already is connected with our sidewalk line, so all I need to do is connect the top. Now, since I know I don't want this building to go all the way there, I'm just going to stop drawing it right about there. And I'm going to bring that straight down. So there's my building. It might look weird to you in this perspective, but it is correct, I promise you. So then I would go and I would add my doors and my windows, my balconies, and whatever else that I'm wanting. So there's one building. And if you want to draw them one at a time, you definitely can, but I'm going to show you a way to do it that's a lot easier. It's going to be a lot better time-wise. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to do 3 buildings at once. So to do this, we're going to go over to the other side of the street, and we're just going to pick some places and do some vertical lines. So I'm going to pick a place right here, And I'm going to slide my ruler back, and I'm just going to pick a place right here. Make sure that all your buildings are going above your vanishing point, above your horizon line, so that they're not too short. And now this one is actually going to be going off the paper down here, but it's going to go right about there. So I have 3 vertical lines right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn these into buildings. So I'm going to pick a place for the height of my building. And for this first one, I'm just going to pick right there. So there's the front of that building.
And that's all for this week. Unit 3 will follow next. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.